This is the Reinforce Your Gym podcast with your host, Dustin Vogel. This show is about arming gym owners with the tools, strategies, and lessons they need to take their business to the next level. That way, they can make a greater impact in their community. Now, let's get to work and reinforce your gym.
Hey gym owners, I'm excited for this week's episode because we are talking about turnarounds, how we took a gym from negative 10,000, they're losing money every month, to a positive 6,000 in profits after the owner was drawing a salary, all right? That is what we're gonna be tackling today. I'm excited because this can apply to your gym. It doesn't have to be just for gyms that are in the negative. It could be that you're profitable and you're gonna get greater profits from the lessons I'm gonna pass on today, all right? So it just feels like it's the best way to teach is from real world applications and stories. So that's why I was excited for today. All right, so let's get into it. Well, first, I want to touch on the culture skills matrix. Okay, so it's this 4 quadrants where you see that you can have somebody that's really strong with culture. They're a great personality, they fit with you, but maybe they're lacking in skills. All right, they're in the upper left. Then we have in the bottom left, the worst people. You got to let these guys go as quickly as possible. They don't match the culture and they got no skills, so they're bringing no value. Then the bottom right is there's a little bit of a personality clash and a culture clash, but they're great with skills, right? This shows up in sales. Someone could be just really rude or really brash, but man, they put sales on the board, so let's keep them, right? Or a coach who's a jerk, but man, they are just so smart. They have so many certifications and they know what they're doing. So that would be the bottom right. The upper right is obviously your A players, superstars. They match your culture and they have skills. My question to you is which out of these 4 are the most poisonous to your business, right? And it's going to tie into the story, but I'm just curious what you think, all right? Here's the answer. It's the upper left because this is where gym owners struggle is we're nice people and we like treating people well and we have like a heart and we care about people. And so we will let people stay that don't have skills for far too long, right? It's just they're just a nice person. They're very, kind, and that is one of the most dangerous for gyms because we don't want to be mean to a nice person. They didn't do anything wrong with their personality, so we have a hard time cutting them loose. But meanwhile, their skills are really holding the business back. And skills are reflective in KPIs. Skills meaning more members, clients getting better results, more referrals. Well, that all comes from systems and skills. And so if your team doesn't have skills and they're just nice people, your business might be being held back from that. That was the case with this gym and how I, approached that and how we got around it. Okay. So here's the backstory. Again, I can't really give too many details, but all I can say is this was a gym purchased with a family that went in and do it as partnerships. All right. So it was a father-in-law and the son-in-law. They went in, father-in-law bankrolled it, son-in-law said, I'll run it. Well, they opened in 2020, which is a tough year to open a gym, specifically March, which we all know the C word happened on that month. And so a year in, the son-in-law said, man, this is a very difficult business. I had no idea. And I just, hey, sorry, dad-in-law, but I want to get out of this thing. I want to, sell it or pass it on. Well, the father-in-law came from a bigger business. He had a $3 million a year business. And he said, well, the way we are financially, no one's going to buy this thing. Well, son-in-law says, hey, that's your problem, and bounces and goes and gets another job. Father-in-law stuck with it. Well, he and I were friends and he reached out to me and said, hey, Dustin, we're going to keep my company card on file, but you are going to run this thing like you own it. You make all the decisions. I trust you. You run the offers, the marketing, you hire the team. It's your gym. You're just doing it on my dime. Like, see what you can do because I need to get this thing positive so I can sell it. Well, by 2023, when I first stepped into it, it was doing negative 10,000 a month when I got my hands on the P&Ls and got my hands dirty. A year later in 2024, there was 6,000 in profit and the owner was having a $5,000 monthly salary. So they were at 11,000 in owner benefit. Pretty big turnaround it was around 18 months. Okay. So even though it was 2023, 2024, it wasn't an exact year. It was 18 months to be honest. All right. So this is the snapshot of the P&L. All right. I collapsed the timelines of the month that I got in and the month that I, the business, transacted, which I'll get over. And so the first month I came in, they were at 30,000 a month in expenses, and we only went up about $3,000 more. Okay, so I didn't come in and get crazy and start spending an over excessive amount. All right, and so as you can see here, side by side, these things were almost identical in terms of expenses, but obviously we know revenue changed. So here it is. The month I came in, they were at 20,000 in revenue. So like I said, they're losing 10,000 a month. And there was one crazy month that we had 39,000. And I mean, there's a few things that happened. We had a few paid in fulls. It was a 5 week month. And since we bill weekly, 5 week months, we always get a big jump in revenue collection. But as you see there, we almost doubled it. We had a $40,000 month. It kind of, averaged out closer to 35 on a normal month, but this was a $40,000 month. And so that's a net 19,000 revenue gain from the month that I came in to the month that I stepped out. And again, it wasn't that much time. We all think a year and a half is a long time, but man, it flies, right? It flew by. So this is your P&L side by side, the profit that was left over. Again, we took it from -10 to a +6. That's a $16,000 net change. Plus the owner was taking a owner's draw. All right. So, or I should say salary. So let's get into what happened, what I saw, and the changes that we made. All right. So first, I walked in and I saw that the coaches had cement shoes. And what do I mean by that? That means they were just standing in place. They weren't moving around a lot and putting their hands on clients and fixing their form and coaching. They are kind of finding these spots that they like to just stand in and watch. But that kind of makes for an awkward client experience, and it doesn't really feel like active coaching. So that is that. Then the other part is they were just doing 100% hit training. There was no strength, and so obviously that needed to be addressed. Every day was timer based, go hard, go balls to the wall. Also, the way that I ran my gyms is we would give clients announcements while we were stretching at the end of the session. They did it before, which I thought was odd because I'm like, everyone's going to be in like crazy workout mode, and no one's going to remember these announcements by the time the session's over. So time, placement wise, it doesn't fit. They also were just missing an all-in leader, right? Somebody who was there on site, really driving the culture and being the face of the company, especially since, again, the son-in-law left and the father-in-law had another business. It was kind of like the inmates running the asylum. They weren't selling very many trials. They'd get maybe 10 a month. And then if you're closing 50%, I mean, you're not even matching your churn. And then really it was just OG clients, as we all have when we open a gym. There's just those first adopters. They were just hardcore and they were the ones that were staying, but you couldn't get new people to stick. And that's, a lot of gyms will flex on their OG members like, oh, they've been here forever. They're always paying. And that's a skill set of what can you do with a grand opening, but can you grow it and get more members? That's a second skill set. And a lot of gym owners struggle with that. All right. So, what were the green flags, right? I don't want to just say it's all red flags. Well, they had a beautiful build out. They did not, skimp on the build out, so that was definitely a nice thing. Plenty of parking. I mean, we could have had 500 members there if we wanted to and have enough parking. Great location near high income homes. There wasn't really a lot of competition, and clients were hungry to get results and to get pushed. Okay, and that I could sense when we launched these things that I'm going to talk about. And then the great part that I loved, of course, with their marketing is they got really low cost per lead. They're getting $10, $15 leads. So it's just like, man, we got a lot of good things here, a lot of growth that can be done. So let me go into my rehab process. What did I do, right? If I own the gym or I'm coaching you on how to, fix your gym, like these are all the actual things I did. So again, take notes of what you feel like applies to you. But step one, I always look at the coaching product because that at the end of the day is what we sell. If I took over Apple, I'm going to go look at the iPads and the iPhones and I'm going to see what features we're going to roll out the next year. And that's everything, right? It's our product. This is what we're putting out to the world. Our reputation is, on the line here. Well, the same goes with fitness. What is your coaching product? Even though it's not a tangible thing that you're selling, it is a service. And how are the clients experiencing it? We know we can't get them results in one workout, so we need to make that experience great so they want to keep coming back so that they get to that outcome, right? They get to the 20 pounds off, they get to the leaner physique. But if they don't love the workouts and the experience that they have day by day, they're just going to cancel, right? So first thing I had to do, because again, this was 2023, we were kind of still all talking COVID. I had to shake the coaches out of that because they were constantly bringing it up and how things changed and how, it was tough. And it's like, guys, we're 3 years past that. Like, what in the world? Let's get on with our lives. Like, so I kind of made it a curse word. I even said, if we say the C word, like, that's like cursing in this house. No more saying it, right? And that needed to be said. Next, I required them to move way more and put their hands on the client and correct their form, not treat them like they have a disease and stay 10 feet away from them and just use their mouth. Like, go and actually move their bodies and form correct them. Obviously, politely ask, can I show you how to get in the right position, and then do it, right? We also switched from all hit to having dedicated strength and cardio days because some people do enjoy cardio, right? And like they want it, so we just went to like 2 days on strength and then 1 day cardio and follow that schedule for 6 days of a week. Also, I found that each coach designed their own workouts. Well, AM coach had a workout and the PM coach had a different workout. And I said, no longer. We need to sync up. Clients complain about that they don't get the same workout experience and they kind of feel like they're missing out. AM and PM need to sync up. We run the same workout all sessions. And then we had what I call a fitness gypsy. So this is just a silly term I came up with, but it's coaches who have 5 gyms they all work at, and they just do 1 or 2 classes at each one. So I call that a fitness gypsy. They're just a wanderer. They're not committed. I hired a coach. I let that gypsy go. I said, you got 5 other gyms. Well, we're just cutting one. You got 4 others. Good luck. I want someone who's just focused on my gym and my clients. And then we added a monthly member event. So, like clockwork, every month we planned something where the members were either going to get together and do a social gathering, or we were going to do some sort of in the gym challenge. And so, for example, we did like hanging out at the bar, and all that meant was at the end of the session, everybody hangs on the rig for as long as they can. And every week we were going to increase the time. Start at 30 seconds and go to 45, 60, and then the final week was 90. It's just this goofy thing to make people laugh. We're taking photos or put on social. They were like chomping at the bit. They loved these member events. And so that was definitely a good culture builder to improve retention. And then I heavily cut sessions. So they had a noon session time for lunch, and it was lightly attended. And then they had 1 or 2 other times that just not a lot of people came to. So we reduced from 13 sessions a day. That's crazy. Down to 7. All the sessions got fuller. I think 2 people canceled over the session schedule reduction. But payroll wise, it was a huge savings, and the session experience was better because it went from 15 people in a session to 21 because everyone had to now move into less sessions. But now the workout is funner because it's group training. The more people, the better, right? So that is the part one of the coaching product. Part two is we added 3 layers of accountability. So first layer is a same day no show. You book an 8 a.m. workout and you don't show up, well, you will get a message from us by 8:30 saying, hey, we missed you. Are you coming in for the 9 a.m. or are you coming tonight? And so you need to hold, like if we say we have accountability, but we don't actually do any accountability, we're just lying. We're not actually doing it. Well, first thing I did is we're going to actually do accountability moving forward. So we call out people who book and no show. The next is a 14-day MIA list. So you run this every week and you ask your CRM, who has not been here in 14 days? Well, this is mission critical. We get a hold of them and we book them in for a session, right? I eventually made my way down to it being 2 days missed. But at the beginning they were not doing any. So I needed to start, and the list was going to be gigantic if I went with, who wasn't here in 2 days. So I started with 2 weeks, then we got it down to 1 week. And then we eventually went to no more than, you can't miss more than 2 days in a row of training with us. Otherwise you're not going to get to your goals, right? And then the last is a 21-day at-risk client list. Because now if someone hasn't been there 21 days, that is basically, you just printed out your cancellation list. Like these people, any moment, are going to be messaging you because they're getting close to spending a whole month of payment to you and not coming in. Logically, that's not going to make sense for most people, right? So like we need to get a hold of them. We need to book them in for a session and connect with them. And again, that wasn't anyone's responsibility. So I, which I'm going to get to on the next slide, put someone in charge of that. And now it started getting done. We launched our first member challenge in January. Again, the clients were eating that up because that included more nutrition, more accountability. And we moved the announcements to now be post session. So they can actually, from the announcement as they're stretching and we let them go to their phone and, scan the QR code if they need to, or to call the buddy and tell them about the special program we're running. But now they can actually take action on an announcement versus hearing it before a workout where now their hands are tired because they got to go work out. And then we put a lot of QR codes because a lot of times we would tell clients to do something, but it's just like verbal instructions. You got to make life easy. So whenever we had a prompt like, hey, we're doing a social gathering, RSVP here, we had a QR code. Or, hey, we're giving out a VIP pass to your friends and family, scan here to claim it, right? Or we're doing supplement sales. You want to get on the pre-sale, like scan this QR code. So like that was just low hanging fruit. All right. Now let's go into marketing and sales. Now I got my coaching product dialed in. Now we're gonna go marketing, okay? So we cranked up the ad spend. Like CPL is super low, $10 leads. Let's go. Let's crank this sucker up. Let's get it to $50 to $100 a day. And then we increased the trial. We actually doubled it. They were doing a $67 trial. I want to say that might have been for 30 days. And I said we're going to 127. And there's no reason other than we know that's our value, right? And so we started doing that, and then we increased the price, and then we started getting into a schedule of emailing our list 2 times a week. All right, a lot of people don't email their list at all. That was something I was really good at. That was a part that I owned as the consultant. I said I'll step in and do this until the GM gets their foundation. I'll be the marketing director, if you will, right? And then we implemented a follow-up system I call the 5x2, which means for the first 5 days someone opts in, you reach out to them twice a day on a different communication channel. So you call and you text. The next day you email and you call. The next day you text and you call, and you kind of continue that. And you can either automate it or you can manually do it, but it works like a charm. And that unlocked a lot of trial sales. So we pretty much went right at the peak. We got from our monthly number of trials, 10, to that being the weekly number, and normally getting between 30 to 40 trials a month. Now you can grow a gym when you get that much volume. It is really hard to grow a gym on just 10 trials a month, right? So that's that. And then finally, we implemented a text blast monthly to the database, right? So they have 2,000 leads. We're going to text them all with an offer at least once a month. Gym owners, I don't want you to have the reputation in town as the gym that doesn't call people back. All right. We know it's critical when someone's finally made a decision to get healthy and fit that we get to them as quickly as possible. This can be solved by plugging in our remote sales reps. Okay. It's not AI. It's not a bot. It's a real human that's working on your leads, the new ones that come in from your ads and the old leads in your database. And they're there to qualify the leads, to ask them discovery questions, and to make sure they're a good fit. And then their job is to move them forward in your sales process so that you get more members month over month. All right. If you want to learn about our remote sales reps, go ahead and go to gymreinforcements.com, book a call, and we'll tell you more about it. See you then. All right. Moving right along. Then we started asking members for referrals. Okay. So I'm getting my marketing cranked up. I'm charging more. I'm doing email blasts. I'm doing text blasts. Well, now I said, hey, members, every quarter we're going to run a friends and family week. I want you to scan this QR code. And that's the VIP pass. Just text that to a friend. They can opt in, fill out their info, and they can get an entire week for free. Work like gangbusters. Every friends and family week we ran once a quarter, we'd get anywhere from 15 to 30 people in the door. Did they all actually activate and come in and work out? No. That was probably about a 30 to 50% take rate that actually activated it. But now we had their contact info and we can work them, right? We can work leads. So that is a quarterly system. Then the next month in the quarter, we did a review ask. So if January, we did a referral ask. February is a review ask. So we said, hey, can you give us a review on Google? Everybody who reviews us is going to go into a raffle to win a free month of membership, right? And so that ranks you higher on Google, which is a good thing. And then the final part is every trial we did sell, the reason we were able to get to 30, 40 trials is if we only sold 20, well, we would ask them for a referral. And if half of them gave us a referral to do the trial with them, well, that bumps you from 20 to 30. So just very simple, low-hanging fruit ideas like this go a long way, right? So every trial you sell, say, hey, who else do you know would want to do this with you? Do you got a buddy that would want to do this trial program with you? And if it's a 30-day jumpstart for 100, 120 bucks, everyone's got a friend that would want to do that, right? You just got to ask and systemize it. So that's how we rehabbed the marketing and sales. All right, step 3, we hired a leader. All right, the first GM I hired, I'll be transparent, did not work out. And so let that be, I guess, comforting to you that like you probably didn't make every perfect hire and neither have I, but you got to try, you got to keep going, right? I mean, I was really impressed. This person came to me with a 1 year growth plan of like where the business is and where they want it to be in a year, how many members, where our EFT will be, what the team will look like. It was like a really cool vision. And they started hot and they were there in the gym every day. But by 60 days, there was a lot of excuses. They were starting to cut out early on Fridays. They were starting to just call out to run errands for their kids. They were just scatterbrained, coming up with a lot of ideas, and I realized, uh-oh, I got somebody that's an idea person, but they're not an executor. Well, I'm an idea person. I don't need two people being idea people. I need executors. I'll bring all the ideas we need. I need executors. So excuses start cutting up or coming up. They wouldn't cover sessions. They couldn't make this sales call. I just realized, okay, they were just all a talk. They're not about getting their hands dirty. And so after 60 days, we had to part ways, right? So then I went back to the batting. I went back up to bat, and I hired a second manager. And so this one was a winner. In fact, I attribute a lot of the success to the gym to them because I had all these ideas, and as you guys can hear them, a lot of them are going to work if somebody can execute them. Because I couldn't. I had my marketing agencies, gym reinforcements at other businesses. I could only consult. I just needed someone that would have a good ear and listen and be coachable. So this person, what I guess I didn't recognize till later is that they had a chip on their shoulder because a past job did not give them a manager role, and they always had that like burning sensation to prove them wrong. And so then when they came to me, they told me this story, and I could kind of see in their eyes they were really like hell bent on being a winner as a manager. So I said, you know what, we'll take the leap. We did it. Not only were they hungry to earn money, they were a go-getter. That I would tell them to do something and boom, they go take action, right? Fast action taker. They're coachable. They never had their ego. Sometimes they would have an opinion and they would disagree with me, and I would just let them do it. And then what I liked is, again, they were humble. They said, you were right. I tried my idea, it didn't work out. And so I knew we would have a good dynamic because of that. All right. The red flag is they have an idea, they do it, it loses, they say nothing, right? And that means that they have a lot of pride. So I also like they were quick to communicate. I mean, it would be all hours of the day. I could message them at night, weekends, and I'm like, okay, this is my people. This is somebody I can work with, and we can make some magic happen. And what I liked also is they were a product of the product, which means they went through a transformation physically from this gym. They were a client and they got amazing results. So then there's that conviction that's going to come out of that person, right? And that is a huge part of it. And they were good at balancing the soft skills and the hard skills of business. So these are all the things you want in a manager, right? And I only saw some of them at the beginning. I saw more come out over time as they developed. So I want to just put that in your ear of like they might not be checking all these boxes because you don't know till you start working with them. All right. There's a great phrase that I love from Seth Godin. He says, I don't know what it's like to work with you until I work with you. And that's really hard to tell from just interviewing. So I like giving them a paid project for 30 days and let's kind of get our hands dirty and see what it's like working with each other. And then let's extend from there. So that is an idea for you. All right. Step four, we fixed the onboarding. All right. Onboarding was non-existent. It was jump in and take a workout. And for a lot of people who are trepidatious or have a lot of concerns about exercise, like this is not going to work for them. This is good for a fitness person, a gym person that already is like familiar with the gym, and we invite them in for a workout. That sounds fun to them. But someone who doesn't work out, that sounds like hell on earth. So what they need is they need a lot more onboarding, explaining, and prepping so that they feel like they're ready to go, right? So, we did one-on-one orientations at first. They'd come to the gym and we'd meet with them one-on-one. Well, when we started really cranking with trials and doing 20 to 40 a month, we had to get more efficient and we went to group orientations happening twice a week. So what do we do with these orientations? Well, we get them on their in-body, get their initial scan. We get a before photo. I know the fitness world has kind of gotten away from before and afters, but we did that. We'd have them hold a photo up, or I mean, a whiteboard with their name, and we would just take a photo and we'd say it's for internal reasons. We're not going to post this anywhere. This is just so our team can memorize a face and a name, right? And then we would download the apps. If they need the InBody app or they need our scheduling app, like we just help all the tech stuff that's, people get goofed up with. And then we would send them a welcome email with their nutrition packet, and we would open that up and we would explain it, what they think they should eat and drink, and we'd answer questions. And it was just like a good low risk way to start the relationship. Not all right, as soon as you come in, get prepared to lift and sweat. We're just gonna talk, right? And then we had heavy accountability to that first session. So if we had 20 people all starting on the same day, we would just check every person and make sure they all came in and worked out that day. Some people are like, hey, work got busy, couldn't make it, I'll be there tomorrow. And that would be on our radar. We would pay attention, we would hold them accountable. What this reduces is your non-starters. You know, that's basically people who buy a trial and just never come in and work out. They just eat the cost of the trial and they never show up. Well, it's because they're ashamed they didn't show up day one, so they just give up and throw the whole trial out the window. You got to call them and say, it's okay. We know life gets busy. Come back in and work out Tuesday, work out Wednesday. It's all right. Let's keep it going. Don't be a quitter, right? And so you got to give them that pep talk. And then the other part is you got to integrate them into your community. Get them to be introduced to your other clients. Get them to shake hands or high five. And we would even give them a shout out at the end of the session. Hey guys, we got a new client, new face. If you haven't seen, she's right here. Her name's Susan. Welcome, Susan. Welcome to our Fit Fam. We all clap, and that's that, right? And so it's like you got to have like this tribal welcoming because otherwise they just feel like they're lost in a sea of people. All right. Step five, we fix the sales process. All right. We change the offer. So I know that not everyone loves to do discounts, but when I'm thinking about scaling and I need to get a lot of people skilled up real quick, I do leverage a little bit more discounts. So it's typically it's needed by a beginner salesperson, and then you can reduce the discount. Like realize it is a fluid thing. You don't have to lock in forever. But if I want to jumpstart a salesperson, I want to give them a lot of like power in their hands, get that confidence up, and then I'm going to take away a little bit of that power so that it's not so dependent on discounts, right? So with this new GM, she was afraid of, talking about money, asking for money, and I could sense that, but I knew she had an amazing story and she would connect. She just had to get comfortable around this money thing. So I said, you know what? You're going to look like a superhero because your first month, you're going to be giving them 50% off after their trial, but they have to sign the paperwork at orientation that once their trial is over, they agree to continue on a 12-month agreement. And if they don't love the trial at any point, they can opt out and the agreement never goes through. And so she really liked that. And it felt good to her that she was giving them something to get something. And that's what we did out of the gate. Eventually that got cut down to 25% and then it got cut down to nothing, right? And it was just like, this is how we do things. You become a member when your trial's over, sign this paperwork, and if you don't like it, you could just cancel anytime during the trial. No incentive needed. But in the beginning, when I'm trying to build salespeople, I pull that lever, right? So that is that. And for anybody that needed a little bit more kind of conversation, we did what's called closing on the floor. These are people who said, no, I refuse to sign it. We said, okay, if you're really worried, here's what we'll do. We'll just let you go ahead and start doing the trial. But we're going to come and catch you after your first or second workout. And then you're going to have to sign there. And, hopefully by that point, you see that it's a great experience. Again, the hesitation is I've never even done a workout. I'm just here at orientation and I have to sign a 12-month agreement. If we got that pushback, we're not going to fight them. We're just going to let them have one or two workouts and then we'll come and get that agreement signed. So that was that. All right. What else did we change on the sales process? Well, number one, we raised the membership price. They were way too low. They're at 127. I wanted to go to 199, but I know that mentally the money mindset wasn't up to that belief yet. So we just jumped to 167, which was still like a shock to the team. And I'm like, guys, this is easy, right? So we went from 32 a week billing to 42 a week, and we did change to weekly billing. Again, a lot of their members were being billed monthly. I'm not going to dive into it in this podcast, but do some math and calculate the difference of how much you make revenue wise if you bill weekly versus monthly. It is very, very much worth billing weekly. All right. And then we added more friction to cancellations. So if somebody comes in and cancels, they had to fill out a feedback form, and we would tell them we cannot submit your cancellation until this form is completed. And so then that required people to get it done. And then there's something I came up with called the Respark system, which is where if somebody wants to cancel, I basically say, hey, you know what? I don't think I've been the best coach I could be for you lately. And I would like a second chance to show you what I can do and help you get the result you deserve. I don't think I've been doing my best. So can we agree to this? For the next 8 weeks, you give 100% to your training and nutrition. I'm going to give you 100% as your coach, and we're going to help you get amazing result in 8 weeks. And if you don't see results, you're not happy, we just end you right then that day. Like this is kind of like a 60-day program cancellation, right? And so what that helps me do is I just extended it from 30-day to 60-day cancel. So, yes, we do get a little bit more revenue, but I'm also giving myself enough time to create a meaningful change in their body. I'm not going to make any major magic happen in 30 days, but in 8 weeks, I can really help somebody see some major changes. And I'm also accepting the responsibility and carrying the weight of the cancellation. I'm not really like I'm even disregarding what they told me. They're like, "Oh, I got too busy. It's a time thing," or "Hey, it's about money." I'm not even like answering that. I'm like completely disregarding that, and I'm going right into, "Hey, you know what? I don't think I've been the best coach," and then that immediately gets them to get back on board. So try it out. It works like a charm. The next part is they were like really heavy with giving out discounts. Like any reason they could find, they could just, like, oh, you've been living in the area 5 years, let's get you a discount. And it's like almost, I want to say half the clients were on a discount because they were teachers, nurses, military, first responder. And I even found a couple times the coaches would say, "Are you related to one?" And if they were, they would give them the discount. I'm like, "You guys really hate our business. You don't want us to make money." So I had to stop that and say, no longer. I don't feel good about, taking away this, but for a limited amount of time to just change your guys' mindset, we have to just eliminate this. And so it went away for 6 months. Everyone got used to not offering this. And then we brought it back. And that way, again, there was a little bit of a mental reset because they were just too heavy handed with discounts. All right, couple of final tweaks. Freeze policy. We put in a freeze policy that states you can only freeze if you are going through pregnancy, if you're injured, or you're about to have a surgery or recovering from a surgery. That's it. Vacations are not eligible. They were basically allowing any reason for someone to freeze. And when you're on weekly, that's the only double-edged sword, is someone could think now I can turn it on and turn it off week by week. But we said that's not the case. You have to be freezing for an entire month or a maximum of 3 months. But there's none of this flip switch week by week, right? No other service does that, right? I can't say, I feel like watching Netflix this week. I don't feel like watching it next week. You pay for an entire month and you're committed, right? Small group training. So this was a large group training facility. We offered small group training during the down hours, and that made the LTV go up significantly for the clients, and they got better results because they're just doing more touch points from their coach, more strength, and we're able to use implements like barbells that we were not using in the large group, and cables. New equipment. So there you go. We mixed it up with the programming. We got new equipment to use in large group sessions, but also all the new flashy strength equipment in the small group room is all stuff they didn't get to touch in the large group room. So that made it this shiny new object and made people want to sign up, right? But to kind of jump to the final step in this journey, we did turn it around, and I showed those numbers at the beginning of the episode. The owner was able to then sell it for 3x annual profits. So I'll let you kind of calculate what that looks like. But he was really happy from thinking I might have to either shut this thing down or just give it away to somebody for free to then being, able to exit it for 3x profits. That's a much happier story. So let me remind you that like all this happened in 18 months, guys. So like you are not far away from having a completely different business. You just got to have a plan. That's all I had from years of running gyms. I was clear. I was disciplined. I got the right culture in place. I changed these things systematically, and then the business changed, right? So it's not rocket science. You just got to be focused, right? Like it's very difficult, I know, in today's world because we got social media and we got emails, we got our own ideas, we got coaches, gurus, but there's a point where all taking in too much information is actually the cause of you not growing, right? And so you got to at one point like block everybody out and just say, I know what I'm doing and I got to get this thing to the finish line. So, a few final lessons I'll share with you. Things take longer than you want. My goal, honestly, I thought Big Bag Dustin's going to come in here and change this gym around in 6 months, and I got humbled that it took a year and a half. But again, what was 6 months of it? Well, that was just the team restructuring. Having a manager come in and it didn't work out. Well, I had to find one and I had to hire them and train them, and then they were there for 60 days. And then I got the new GM and then I trained them and then I found out that they were good. That all took 6 months of just team restructuring. And then another 7 months was dialing in the marketing and sales. I knew that'd be a waste to fix all that without the right team. So that's why I focused on the team first. Knowing that the gym was losing money, I knew that that's the backs that we're going to build this business on is the team. And I need an excellent team. So That again is kind of the timeline of how we focus, right? I didn't do both together because I knew if I flood this gym with a bunch of leads and they meet a bad coaching product, I just wasted that marketing spend. So that's why these things also happen in a specific order. And the second lesson is leadership is everything. I did not move the gym. I didn't get new equipment till we were 2 years down the road. I didn't change the lobby. The only thing I changed is the leader. So remember that leadership is everything. People follow the pace of the leader. And if the leader is not holding the standard, well, then you're going to have a really difficult time growing your business. All right. Then the third lesson is around money mindset. There is a collective money mindset. A lot of people follow the most senior person in the room. So if somebody is the oldest or the most senior in the industry or been doing something the longest, people naturally just copy and paste their beliefs. Oh, they believe that, I believe it too. And they don't change their beliefs. They just absorb other people's beliefs. So that's why a lot of our beliefs come from our parents or our friend group or the people we work with. And so you got to really challenge them and say, is that really true to me? Do I really think that's true? Is there any proof of that being true? Does that belief serve me? And so, essentially like the whole team thought, hey, like money, taking it doesn't feel right, right? This is something where we should just be working for free, giving people workouts and helping them get healthy. How could we hide this behind a money wall? But the truth is, we have to be a business. You guys got bills to pay. Nobody's going to give us our houses for free, our cars for free, our food for free. So we need to turn this into a profit mindset as a good thing, right? And so, like if it's for the business, that means we're winning. If it's anti-business, that means we're losing. And so I had to kind of change their mind from being just trainers and teach them how to be business minded and think about business and give them a crash course on business. And that took some time, but eventually they started to see how the dots connect, right? So I would honestly tell them big expenditures. I'm like, guys, we just got hit with this HVAC replacement. Do you know it's going to be $15,000? And I would share these giant numbers because I want their mind to be blown. I had no idea. Oh my God, I'm just so grateful that I have this AC while I coach. Well, do you know how much that costs a month in the summer? Do you know how much it costs to repair? Like, these are things you actually need to share so they feel those wounds with you, right? Those painful payments. Number four, baby gains in business. All right. Um, we all want to sprint in business and be like doing amazing things, but you got to follow that mindset of like, first I'm going to crawl, then I'm going to learn how to stand up, then I'm going to learn how to walk, then I'll learn how to walk fast, then I'll run, then I'll be sprinting. That's how business goes, right? So I really feel like the last year that they were in business was their real year because they were just like getting the basics down. And so like, they got that grand opening rush and that was nice. And then it slowed down. And so, a lot of what I call baby gains in business with gyms is the first 2 years, it's just like taking candy from a baby. It's so easy to market and get members. And then it gets tougher after 2 years, right? And that's what started happening with this gym is that the trials started to slow down. And, now they've been around a while. So that like that spark of being the new flashy thing in town is burning away. And so, again, you got to just get better at your marketing and better at client retention because it will get difficult the longer you're in town, right? And so you got to be mindful of that. So they had their baby gains, but now they're getting into their maturity stage where they're getting more and more dialed in so that their LTV is going up and their CAC is going down. So the other lesson I'll share is you can't fix everything at once. As I said earlier, sometimes you got to let something burn. Like we knew we were losing money while I was focused on building a team, but I knew I'm coming for that next, right? And so that it sucks, but it's just how you got to do things. Work on the weakest link. All right. That means work on the right thing in order. A lot of times we'll gravitate to the thing we enjoy, and it's because it comes easy to us. And that might not be the weakest link in the business, right? So I'm a marketing guy. I might just want to jump in and run ads. That was really tough to turn that down, that mindset off and focus on team because I know that really well and I can get that going. But I just knew what would be the next issue that would come from that. But yeah, the business is so much easier to grow when your team is all in, right? I can't overstate that enough. Um, and then another lesson is your default setting. Either I can't do this or that. Like basically most owners will jump in and help out with something, whether they need to cover coaching and they need to do sales. And I would challenge you to change your default mindset to like, I can't help. Like, pretend I live in another state. Like, you live in Texas and you own a gym in Arizona, and the coaches don't have someone to cover a block. Are you going to jump on a plane? No. That's the mindset you got to shift to, because I know we want to just be the ultimate backup player and jump in and help, but that trains the team that you're always the safety net and they're safe no matter what. You need to kind of take that safety net away. So I need you guys to step up and figure this out. If you can't come in, coaches, I need you to get on a group chat and you need to cover. No coverage, or no coaches can have a day off unless they find their own coverage. That was one of the expectations I set. Don't message me and I'm the middleman. Message each other and then just update me on what the plan is. And so I just went in with that mindset. And that's something that I would challenge gym owners that are listening to this to have the same mindset of, I can't help them out. They have to figure it out on their own. And, that goes with another way of saying this is a who, not how. And so a lot of owners will have the mindset of, how will I cover these sessions? How will I get this done? How can I fit this in my day? And I went with who's going to cover it for me, right? Who's going to cover these sessions? Who's going to do the sales? Who's going to do that? Because I'm not going to do it. I have other businesses. I could just say that that's another mindset that served me in turning this gym around, and again, it doesn't come easy to a day one gym owner. It's obviously something I developed over time, but you can do it one decision at a time. One small thing gets put in front of you and it's like, hey owner, can you do this? And you change your mindset to say, no, I can't. Who can? Who else than me, right? And that is really empowering. All right, well, guys, that's it for my turnaround story. Hopefully this wasn't, too long running and boring. Hopefully it helped you kind of see things you can change in your gym. That was my goal. And if you enjoyed it, send me a message on Facebook or Instagram. Would love to hear your feedback, and I'll see you guys next week. Hey, gym owners, let's face it, you probably don't love digital marketing. You probably don't want to go into Facebook and load the ad up and think of ad copy and creatives and optimize it daily. Well, hand that over to me and my team, because we're geeks about marketing and we want to flood your gym with new members so you can change their life. Let us do what we do best. All right, go to gymreinforcements.com, book a call. Don't bring the credit card. It's not a hard pitch. It's just a conversation to see if we're a good fit. Talk soon.